Welcome to the Scott Combs VoiceOvers podcast, helping you start and grow your voiceover career. A couple of questions came in from Joanne. First, what equipment do I need to get started? And do I need to build out a studio? I'll answer the second question first. The reason to have a studio or vocal booth is really what we're talking about here, is to isolate your microphone from noises and sound reflections. If I were to stand in a normal room in a house and speak, I could hear my voice reflecting off the walls all the way around me. And a microphone only makes that worse. An example of it is when somebody's doing sort of a handheld camera look at themselves and they're doing a video, and you hear that they're in kind of a big empty room. You hear the voice echoing off all kinds of walls and ceilings and hard floors and coming back into the microphone, which gives it that roomy feel and makes their voice seem kind of small. And what a voice booth does is cut down those reflections to the point that it's basically just hearing your voice coming from your mouth and nowhere else. So here I built my own vocal booth because I knew what I wanted and I kind of knew what was going on. So I put that one together. A lot of voiceovers have booths installed. And oh boy, those installations, some kits are as cheap as $300-400, but some installations are $5,000 to $10,000, depending on, what you want and how much money you have to spend. That seems like a lot. Basically, the booth is big enough for you to get into with your microphone, all your isolations taken care of, so it sounds more like a professional recording studio. Okay, great, that's fine. Except not everybody has the room to put a booth in their house, right? So the new designs are trying to isolate just the microphone and not the person as well, which is great. It's a step in the right direction, but most of them are set up wrong. They're backwards. Here's why. Here's my example microphone. Okay, sound goes in this end. Electricity comes out of this end. This is where your mic cable goes, right? So the sound goes in here when I speak. And if I put a barrier around this end, it's not protecting the voice element from reflections at all. It's keeping some reflections from, bouncing off the back wall and coming into the microphone, but it certainly isn't doing enough. Now, if you could take, say, a shoulder-mounted unit around the back of your head and then have a microphone in here, you'd be far better off. And that's not far from what some people have done. Okay? So what you want to kill are the reflections coming off that back wall more than anything. And I'm talking about for our purposes here, because there are definitely microphones that pick up in all directions all the time. But generally what voiceover artists use are directional microphones. So we want to protect what's behind us. We want to soften that up. More than a few people have done voiceovers in clothes closets. And I'm not kidding. They've done vocals for records in clothes closets. You just have to make sure there are plenty of clothes in the closet and you're not making noise by being in there with them. You're not rubbing up against stuff and you're not making hangers clack together or anything else. But if you can set it up and back into varying depths and test your system on it, you can find a pretty dead spot in there. And I know I could do it in several of our, my wife's closets at the very least, because there's a lot of clothes in those. So that covers vocal booths. So you can try that clothes closet thing, and I really hope you do. Let me know if you're having any trouble with it, and I'll be happy to help you troubleshoot. As for recording equipment, I've compiled a starter kit suitable for professional uses. There are things you can buy cheaper, but they might not be suitable as a professional device. So I went looking for something that covered, that killed two birds with one stone. It had to be cheaper, but it also had to be good enough to be used in a professional manner, or in a professional recording. So this is what I put together. Let's take you over there right now. Now, you need to know I have no affiliation with Sweetwater whatsoever, except that I bought stuff from them. Sweetwater is a wonderful place to buy equipment. They're very friendly. They take care of their employees very well. It's a mail order house, and they've been awesome to me and a lot of my friends in the voiceover and music business. So I'm assuming, one of the first things you need is a computer. I'm going to assume you already have that. Then you need an audio interface. For an audio interface, the Focusrite Scarlett Solo 3rd generation is terrific. It's inexpensive and good enough quality to do professional work on. It'll work out well for you, and a lot of pros use Scarletts. It works out just fine. You need a microphone. And in this case, I'm suggesting a shotgun microphone. It's a short shotgun. It's the Audio-Technica AT875R. And it's a condenser microphone, so it needs what's called phantom power, or 48 volts. And if we go back to the Scarlett, there's a button for 48 volts right there. Okay? And that's important to us. We want that. We want to make sure we've got that, so it powers the microphone. As a matter of fact, the Audio-Technica mic is the one I use for the podcast. And a lot of people have used it professionally all over the world for voiceovers, for, major voice actors, standard voiceover people who are doing like radio and TV commercials. It's used across the board, not terribly expensive, but extremely high quality. And you'll want to look into that one. I'm not affiliated, by the way, with Audio-Technica in any way either, except that I use, some of their equipment. You'll want a microphone stand. Now, it's kind of up to you as to what you want. If your setup means you're sitting at a desk, you may want a desktop stand. I generally stand up in my booth, or I have a stool that I kind of sit on. So I'm not quite fully standing, but I'm also not sitting down all the way. And here's a stand here on with a boom, and you want a boom on it to reach you for what is that? $30. And that stand will go pretty much anywhere. It's got a good price. If you have a desk, you go looking for a desktop stand, and you still want a boom on that, because it has to reach across a few things, and you have to kind of set it up. But you can look for microphone stands. They're not terribly expensive. There's a desktop stand, and you can buy a boom separate from that to set on there and then connect your microphone to. The one thing you need to know about using a condenser microphone and a desktop stand especially is that any vibration that goes into your desk will be heard by the microphone. So if you're going to put it on a desktop, you're also going to put the microphone in something called a shock mount. And you can simply look for shock mounts for, shotgun mics, and they'll come up very well for you. You'll find them everywhere. You need a microphone cable. It needs to be long enough to get from the microphone into your Scarlett. And it's pretty much that simple. I probably would get something that's 10 feet long. It just makes a ton of sense, and they're pretty inexpensive. And then you're going to need a way to listen back to things. And this is kind of important. These are really good, and I've used all kinds of headphones. I've used the Sonys that all the guys, rave about, and I can't stand them because they're too bright, and they're kind of painful. I've used, let's just say, over what's coming up on 45 years, I've used a lot of different headphones. These I trust. They sound good. They work well. You can wear them for a long time. Again, it's another Audio-Technica thing, and I can't be held responsible for that. I've used, 2 different Audio-Technica mics, the one I'm using right now, and the AT4050. 3 ATM25s. I've used those too for voices, especially for radio stuff. I've used those. And then I've used these headphones, and they're just good, so I use them. We'll be doing some more work on equipment, and I'm going to take this shotgun mic that I'm using right here. I'm going to take it into my booth, and we're going to compare it to my expensive vintage Neumann and see how that goes. So what we've got here is equipment with a grand total of $435 plus tax and shipping, with one more consideration being getting a music or copy stand. I've gone paperless, so my music stand holds a laptop. It's a Chromebook, and it works out really, really well, and I end up saving money overall because I'm not printing out scripts all the time. There's always more to learn, and if you'd like to learn some more, just check out some of the other videos we have in this particular series. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.